And as we kick off, and before we kick off, I'd actually like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. And I would also like to pay my respects to elders, both present, past, and emerging. And with that being said, we'll kick off as well. We've got an awesome panel today, and I'll slowly spotlight everyone and ask them to introduce themselves and where they're from. I think we've already got a couple questions coming in from the discussion we're having earlier anyway. So we will be doing a Q&A session. So any questions that you've got, please pop it into the Q&A box as well, and we'll run through the questions. If any are unanswered, we'll also can type away the answers as well. So what I recommend to get the most out of the session, engage, ask as many questions as you like, and take advantage of the amazing panel as well. But what we might do is we start off with Mark. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about what your organization does?
Yeah, hi guys, good afternoon. So yeah, my name's Mark Taylor. I'm the Vice President for the Technology and Automation sector for DHL Supply Chain. DHL, probably most of you are aware of DHL, but the actual business is split into three. So most of you are aware of DHL from the parcel side of the business, and that's what we call our express side. So they're obviously a global parcel delivery solution. The second sector is what we call our DGF, which is our freight forwarding, which manages the shipping across the globe. And then the third piece, which is the sector that, or the division I work in, which is DHL Supply Chain. And basically it's 3PL contracts logistics. So we are the biggest 3PL globally and growing in Australia, double-digit growth. So important to make that differentiation. So the sector that I'll be talking about through this session is the DHL supply chain side of it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. What I might do is I'll throw it to Sharon next to introduce herself and a bit more around what her organization does.
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Sharon Abbott. I'm the grad program manager at Toll, so I look after early careers. Toll also is a global organisation, and we focus on freight forwarding and logistics as well. So dual headquarters in Australia and Singapore. But yeah, it'll be a common theme. We all pretty much do the same stuff. Thank you.
Awesome. On that note, I'll throw to Josh next from Mainfreight to share a bit more about himself and what they do.
G'day everyone, welcome. So my name is Josh. I'm the graduate coordinator for Mainfreight Australia. Predominantly look after the grads and recruitment as well. And we're very similar to, I guess, the other panelists here. We have three main divisions, which is warehousing, air and ocean, and transport. And we're a third-party global logistics provider.
Thank you, Josh. And last but not least, we've got Claudia from Linfox to share a bit about them.
Hello, everyone. My name's Claudia. I'm from Linfox. I am currently a grad, about to come off the grad program. Linfox, as everyone else is, we specialize in logistics in 3PL and 4PL. So we do like warehousing, distribution, everything in between. So if you have any questions or want any more information, let me know.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for sharing as well. What we might do is we get kickstarted into it. We've already got a couple questions coming in. If anyone does have questions, please pop it into the Q&A box as well, so we can answer it live and with our panelists. But the first question is actually, what is the most important piece of advice you'd give for students ready to work in this sector? And might throw to Sharon, you first.
Okay, most important piece of advice. I think being the industry that we all are, it's not your typical behind a desk working 9 to 5 type roles. Some roles are, but majority of logistics operational roles aren't. And I think it's really, really important to make sure that, as someone applying for a role, that this is what you want to do and that you fully understand the industry that you are getting into and applying. See a lot of grads come in And within 6 months, they're like, oh my God, this is not for me. It's just not the right fit. So it's really important that you do understand the industry of transport, logistics, freight forwarding. You can see in Claudia's background, she's in a warehouse environment. So this is what it can look like. So yeah, really making sure it's the right fit, I think, is really, really important. Thanks.
No, that's really important to understand. I mean, transport and logistics, sitting behind a desk, probably not, quite as accurate. But Claudia, you're sitting there in the warehouse. Do you want to share a bit about some advice that you'd give for students aspiring to work in the sector?
Definitely. I think one of the big things is a commitment to safety. We all work in an environment where there's heavy machinery, slips, trips, falls. The industry itself is characteristically, hazards. So I think a big commitment to safety. And as Sharon said, you really have to be committed to operations and love logistics, because it's pretty much what we do.
Awesome. And Mark, do you want to actually share next around DHL and I guess the piece of advice that you'd give to students aspiring to work in the sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally concur with what Sharon and Claudia are saying, and so far that go into the industry with your eyes open. But I will say, guys, it is an incredibly rewarding industry. So you're whether you go into operations or solution design or business development or warehousing or transport, is a multifaceted opportunity supply chain. And the reality is, you have to build your knowledge base to start with. And that's why, a lot of the graduate schemes are very operational based. And that's why you see Claudia in the warehouse, because she's building that operational knowledge that will provide the platform to really progress their careers in 3PL. So it's going in with your eyes open, but also understanding the means to an end of why you're going in and getting your hands dirty and doing those operational roles at the beginning. Because once you have that, then the opportunity supply chain to really progress your career is a very big one. And the other advice I would give to graduates is you will get as much out of the graduate scheme as you put in. Okay, so don't, we all, whether it's DHL, Linfox, Mainfreight, Linfox, it's all, we all have our structure of what, of a graduate scheme. And that's half the graduate scheme. The other half is about the input and effort a graduate puts into that scheme to really get the best out of working for that organisation and the scheme itself.
Thanks for sharing, Mark. Last but not least, we've got Josh. Any advice from you? Because Josh, you've come through the grad program as well, haven't you?
Yeah, so I was a grad, and I guess for Mainfreight for us, and pretty much what everyone has said previously is all very relevant to our industry as well. Our grad program is very much, you're going to be learning from the ground up. You're going to be in the operations. You're going to learn how to drive a forklift. You're going to learn how to pack boxes. But as Mark said, there's a means to an end. My, I guess, other suggestion would be is that you've got to be prepared that not every day is going to be the same. There's always going to be challenges that are thrown at you. There's going to be delays. There's going to be, a truck broken down or a shipping line or the ports are shut down, whatever it may be. No day is the same, which is a great thing in some ways, but it can also be very challenging. So I'd have to say being adaptable and being able to work with customers and customer service is very important. So your relationship building skills, customer service skills, and communication skills would be ideal.
Yeah, great background as well to have. Nothing's ever the same way from what it sounds like. So someone that's very adaptable. And it actually links straight into one of our next questions, which is, now we've kind of all realized that, all right, you're looking for talent that is adaptable. You're looking for someone that's a little bit more hands-on, and we know a bit about you guys. But what can a student or a grad put in their application that would actually help them put their best foot forward and actually progress through the round of interviews? And I might throw it to Sharon first to answer that one.
I think it's really important in your CVs, and I'm sure we all look at hundreds of CVs every year, but it's really about like for me, I like to see what people are doing. Yes, you're all at university, you're all studying, hopefully all getting really good grades. You might have part-time jobs, but like, don't hide things. We've had grads that I've had candidates that, I've hired and we're talking and they're like, oh, I worked here and I worked there. And I'm like, that wasn't on your CV. Why didn't you put it in there? And they're like, oh, I didn't think that was important, working at McDonald's or something like that. But there's so many transferable skills for things that you do that an employer will look at and potentially view differently to how you would view it, for a part-time job while you're studying. So really include things about what you're doing and give as much information as possible to the recruiters, to the employers and the companies that you're hiring for, especially when there's thousands of applications that we're looking at. We're looking for the differences in people.
That's great feedback as well. Does anyone else want to chime into that as well and give their input? I know we've got a mix of grads fresh off and we've got experienced people as well within the organization and senior leaders.
I was just going to add into Sharon's point. So I actually worked at Domino's for 10 years before I came here. And a lot of the skills that I learned there, I put into my resume and my CV. And as Sharon said, you can transform those skills into something that you use every day. So even though if you don't think it's relevant, a lot of the time it is. And I was just going to add as well in your CV, putting that you are committed or that you have like you really committed to learning and personal development was a big thing as well.
That's great.
I agree.
Yeah, Mark, please.
Yeah, just to add to that, because I mean the technical skills, clearly can probably determine that from the degree you're doing. So it's about what differentiates you aside from the technical skills. And the best graduates we get on our scheme are the ones who are motivated, passionate, have the drive to want to really make it work. So, it's, as the guys have said, it's about putting the detail on that CV, but, getting across the message that, you are motivated in this industry and you really want to, have a long career in it. And the other piece is so much of the graduate scheme so much of 3PL in particular is managing people. So it's having those personnel skills, engaging with people. So any examples, Claudia's example, Domino's is a great one because, working with teams and customers, that's a key experience that's required for, for supply chain and 3PL in particular.
Thanks for sharing, Mark. Josh, would you add anything to that as well?
Yeah, just everything that everyone has said previously is totally valid. I would say, especially in our industry, your soft skills are far more important than your technical. And, technical skills can be taught, but soft skills you really learn through experience. I used to work in an independent wine shop, just a mum and dad sort of store, learned everything about wine, great varieties, vintages, a bit of viticulture, all that sort of stuff. And then you got to sort of learn through that. I had to order from our suppliers and then didn't even think that I was going to get into in this sort of field in logistics and supply chain. And then turns out the company that I work for have a lot of alcohol customers and actually deliver to that store that I used to work to. And then I was also being very, very hands-on, delivering to alcohol to businesses in the city. And you've got to have a lot of good customer service skills and you've got to present yourself well. So everything that you learn whilst you're at university, even doing uni assignments and working in group projects, being able to manage those tasks and delegate, resources or tasks to your group or whatever it may be is all very relevant, and you should sort of list that and make it stand out within your, cover letter and resume as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, great way to put it as well. Particularly when you say it like that, it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense that would be relevant. But when you're applying, sometimes like, oh, just, it seems insignificant. So thanks everyone for sharing around that. And we've actually had a question come in from Kazuya. So thanks for the question. And Kazuya was asking around when the grad programs start and how long do they go for? And I might throw to Mark first to just run through a bit about DHL and what that looks like for them.
Yeah, we have grad intakes every 6 months. On the specific dates, I'll have to confirm. But in terms of the actual length of the graduate scheme, it's 2 years, and we're the way it works at the moment is for 2 years, and we do 6 months rotations to different parts of the business. We have separated. We have created another graduate scheme, which is going to be more operational focused, and that will be structured as a 6 month learning the operational principles, and then an 18-month operational secondment in a supervisor role, and then that's the 2 years, and then from that, then the graduate will determine which opportunities they want to progress within the business, which are varied. I mean, like the other guys, 3PL, we have operational, solution designs, business development, HR, transport, sectors, which present different opportunities.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing, Mark. And Claudia, I might throw to you in terms of the graduate program, when they start, what that looks like at Linfox.
So the graduate program itself, it starts in February next year and it goes for 2 years. There is opportunities to come off earlier. So I'm on almost at 18 months now and I'm about to come off. And we also do have the vacation program as well, which runs for 3 months over the break, which is for more second year students not in their final year of study.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Josh, could you tell us a bit more around that for Mainfreight?
Yeah, so our graduate program is 2 years. We have a rolling intake, meaning that we don't have a deadline for when you can apply. You can apply all throughout the year. It's very operational. It's very unstructured. It's very hands-on to begin with. But the whole idea is that you learn from the ground up. We want you to make sure that you're learning everything that you can in the operations before we progress you within the business or move you around other parts of the business, because everyone learns at different speeds and different rates. So we just want to make sure that you have a firm understanding first of the operations, and then you can slowly move into roles that have more responsibility and leadership.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Josh. And Sharon, from your end, what does it look like at Toll in terms of grad programs and what they look like? How long do they go for?
Yep. So similar to the others, we've got a 2-year program at Toll. Our intake is in July. So we actually recruiting now for this July. We don't recruit a year in advance. Just some weird thing that we do here at Toll. So it is an operational program, but we're also bringing in functional streams as well this year, but predominantly in operations where you're learning from the ground up, picking, packing, all sorts of things.
Fantastic. Thank you. And we've got another question actually come in as
Sorry,
well. Thanks. Yep.
Sorry. Hey, just to because the timeline is quite important. So from a DHL graduate scheme, similar to some of the others, it starts in February. So it's February where the graduate intakes are taken in.
Fantastic. Thanks for finding that on the fly as well, Mark. Awesome.
Yeah, no worries.
Quick hands there. Awesome. Good stuff. And I was going to say thank you very much for the question as well, Kazia. The other question that we've gotten quite often as well, because we've understood now being on this panel and listening in, we've understood sort of what makes them stand out in terms of soft skills, but are there actually any specific certifications or disciplines or majors that you require or you'd recommend for fresh graduates that, by taking it, they're going to improve their chances of getting considered for a role? If anyone wants to put their hand up and go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. So no, we hire from all disciplines. If you've got your forklift license, we think of that as a bonus, but we'll certainly give you your forklift training as well. But no, we're very open with our candidates. We look at EQ over IQ, I guess. But in terms of certifications and licenses, I guess in Victoria, if you've got your LO and LF forklift license, then we'll take you on and see how you go. That's a bonus for us. But overall, I would say as long as you've got very good soft skills, that's what we predominantly look at.
I'll jump in on that as well. I was just going to say, we take in any degree that you do, but if you do study logistics or supply chain, it will be better for you in the industry because you have a better understanding, but there's no skills that we can't teach here. So it'll just be better for you to come in with that knowledge. But again, we take any degree.
Yeah, hey, absolutely, Claudia. I was going to say the same thing. We work in supply chain. We're 3PL moves is not just moving boxes from A to B. It's about working with customers to drive solutions. So having a degree that specializes in logistics and supply chain management will help you to fit in with a 3PL that wants to drive value to customers. And having that background, I think is certainly is of value. But as Claudia said, as the other guys have said, doesn't mean that someone without a logistics degree isn't going to make it work. But having that understanding certainly will help. And also, to the point we said earlier about going in with your eyes open, if you study logistics and warehouse management and supply chain, then you understand the challenges of supply chain, but also the opportunities within supply chain. So it helps with going in with your eyes open.
Yeah. At Toll, we take any background, any tertiary qualification. We do have a focus on logistics and supply chain. But, one of my best grads was a primary education is what he studied. And he's ended up at Toll in logistics. So really, again, it's about that passion about wanting to work in the industry and have a career down that path. We teach what you need to know.
That's great. It really sounds like it's open for anyone. It definitely is more the soft skills that matter and someone's drive to learn. And let's fast forward, time for our panelists. I know most of you have seen grads come through the program or have been a grad yourself. For the students that do actually land a job with you, what advice would you actually give them to not just survive, but really thrive in their first year of the program?
I'll go with that one. I would just say take any opportunity as they come. I was lucky enough to go to Canberra and work with the Department on Health and delivering out the vaccine. So that was a huge opportunity for a grad. They've never had a grad do that type of role. So say yes to everything. Anything that's an opportunity, just say yes to it.
Yeah, I'll second that. Don't be afraid to try new things. And as grads, you sort of got, a bit of leeway that you are a graduate and you're new, and people, will go out of their way to go, they're a grad, let's help them. Or don't think you have to know everything. People know that you're on a grad program and you're learning. So yeah, just put your hand up for whatever you can. Do night shift, do day shift. Yeah. See what it's like at 3 a.m. in the morning when the trucks are coming in or going out.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, it's all, we're all saying the same thing, but in a grad scheme, you will get, the more you put in, the more you'll get out of it. So if you go in there and expect everything to be handed on the plate, then it won't work out. My advice is get your hands dirty, put your hands up for everything, and there's direct correlation. The more effort you put in, then the more you get out of the whole scheme.
Sounds like a reoccurring theme, which is great. Josh, any input from your end, because you've been through the grad program as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I would just say be open to, like everyone said, be open to taking on tasks that are very unfamiliar, or you're out of your comfort zone, because the more you learn, I guess, in our business or at Mainfreight and in the industry, the more you learn about the operations, the more it's going to be better off for you in the long term. So, I've been on night shifts. I've had to travel to Darwin to deliver freight when no one else wanted to, which was a white glove service that I did. I've had to look after a toy customer nationally. A lot of things that I look back on now and I'm like, wow, I actually just put my hand up and went and see how I went. Not all things are going to be pleasurable. You're going to have your ups and downs, but you just got to roll with it and then just have an open mind to it.
Thanks, guys. That was great. Thanks for sharing. And on that question, might throw a bit of a twist. Hey, is there anything that they shouldn't do in their first year? Advice in terms of anything they should avoid doing?
I would just say walk before you run. So as everyone else kind of said, you really want to learn the operation, get to know from the ground up before you start to run.
Yeah. And also, don't discount things. You're working with people who've been in the industry potentially for a long, long time. So give things a try. It might be something you're not interested in doing, but you could go and do something and get so much out of it. And as a new grad, you get grads that are really eager to do things and then grads that are stepping out of their comfort zone. So, you've got to, don't be afraid to try new things. But also about the way you go about doing things as well. As a graduate, it's a learning experience. It's very different to, just to being at school. You have to get up and go to work and be there on time. So really about how you do that transition from work life to uni is really important. And don't just assume that you know everything. So there's so much to take in. Especially as a first year grad with the do's and the don'ts. Yeah, it's so different to, being at uni when you don't have to go to a lecture.
Yeah, no, I agree. Go with an open mind. Don't jump to conclusions in your first year. And also understand, what you're doing is a means to an end. So, you may be getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning thinking, I didn't spend 3 years at university to have to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's important you understand the context of why you're doing that, both for yourself, but also for the company you're working for.
I like Claudia's, what she just said, don't run before you can walk, incredibly. Operations can be physically, I guess, like taxing, but once you take more responsibility on, you'll be working with customers and you'll also be thrown in the operations. So make sure you just take your time and understand that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And from what the panel was saying, it really sounds like that operations is the foundation for a lot of the career progression in this industry. Would I be right in saying that? Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I think grads might be curious of then is, could you walk us through, I guess, I know it's quite different in terms of every day, but the typical day in the life of a grad within operations, let's say?
I can run through what my experience personally has been. So when I started out, I was doing a lot of data and just understanding, what comes in, what goes out, and just getting more of an understanding about what they do. Then moved into a role that had me liaisoning between a customer and also Linfox. And now I'm in an operational role. So, every day is different, but, you learn how to put the different pallets away, use the different systems that we use, everything like that. So every day is different, but it is more operational stuff.
Thanks, Claudia. Anyone want to volunteer next? Share, I guess, what the typical, and I'm very typical in big air brackets there, day in the life of operational grad.
Oh, sorry, Mark, you go ahead.
Hey, I would just what I was going to say was, I think it's difficult to say a typical day because, you know, the idea is we want to try and present as many opportunities to the grads as we can, and invariably that, you know, those opportunities are different by their nature. But in principle, you know, it's the operational, and whether it's, and when I talk about operational, it's about both warehouse operational, transport operational, but also working with customers in an account management role. But the other opportunities grads will have during the 2 years, which is quite complex, is project work. So whenever we have a startup or working with a customer on a strategic solution, then that's a great opportunity for graduates to be part of that and not only develop their skills, but also learn how we can work with customers to strategically drive continuous improvement.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I was a grad, first learned how to pick orders. So pick toys, DIY tools, alcohol, baby formula, you know, all sorts of things. In terms of the, I guess, outbound orders that we did, learned how to dispatch them all, pack them, take them up, very hands-on. So that was sort of the first initial things, as well as, you know, stock controlling. So really counting the stock if we needed to for any variances or any discrepancies, and going back to the customer with them or to the team. In terms of, I guess, like inbound, so stock coming into our warehouse, you know, unloading them safely and securely onto a pallet, making sure that the stack pattern was correct, because some DCs or distribution centers won't accept freight unless they're stacked in a very specific way. Labeling, making sure your labels are correct as well, because distribution centers won't accept them if they're not fixed to the right area of the pallet. All sorts of things, I guess, operationally. In terms of when I moved into a more, when I was looking after a toy customer, it was speaking with the customer each morning, giving them the updates for the day, trying to find out what the priorities for the day were, and then putting out orders for the team, delegating tasks, inbound and outbound, looking into any projects that the customer wanted if they had an sort of like a promo or anything like that. Yeah, there's really no days the same, and just basically you're in a boxing match. There's going to be things coming at you left, right, and center, whether it be internally within the team or externally, and you just got to manage your tasks and prioritize them well.
Yep. For Toll, very similar to what Josh has said, for our graduates that are in ops, you know, they're moving through the different parts of the site depending on where they're based, you know, inbound, outbound, inventory. They could be doing, you know, analytical work. They could be doing CI projects, really just depending on what site they're at and what the core focus is, what learning experience we want them to get out of the rotation. But it's, yeah, very hands-on, a lot of Excel. Grads seem to use a lot of Excel, so brush up on your Excel skills if they're not that good. But yeah, again, same as the others, it's very different just depending where you are, and every day there's always something going on.
Thanks for sharing, everyone. I think I asked a trick question, typical day, and what it sounds like is no day is typical, is what I got. But no, everyone, we're coming up closing to our panel in the next 5 minutes, and I'd love to give you guys the opportunity, because it sounds like you definitely have agreed on a lot of themes as well throughout this as well, to really differentiate yourself. You know, and I'm going to make this very challenging, if you had to, in a couple sentences, really describe why students should apply to your organization, why would that be? So that being said, I'll throw to Mark first to chat about them.
Yeah, thanks. One thing, if I do sell, of course I'm not sell, but yeah, say why you should join the GHO graduate scheme. I will say something about supply chain, and maybe speak on behalf of everyone here, is the reason why we talk about operation roles and, you know, having to get, you know, get involved in the detail to begin with is because developing a career in supply chain, whether it's operational or with other aspects within 3PL, is incredibly rewarding. And because the perception is, oh, we don't get our hands dirty, we do maybe struggle to get, the quality of the quality that other industries may get because of the perception of that industry. And I suppose what we're trying to do now is speak on behalf of, in my case, DHL, but also speak on behalf of supply chain, is that it is incredibly rewarding. And if people are prepared to go and put the effort in, then it's a great way to really hit their career aspirations. Whether it's people management, whether it's strategic, whether it's analytical, whether it's solution design, whatever, it is a really good industry to get in. And I suppose the challenge for us is to make people understand that and make it seem attractive. And hopefully this session has done that. In terms of DHL, hey, if you want to get into supply chain, then I said earlier, DHL, we are the biggest global 3PL. We are growing double digits in Australia, and the graduate scheme is a key part to, and because of that growth, the graduate scheme offers huge amounts of opportunities to really experience operational and also other roles across all sectors, whether it's healthcare, technology, retail, automotive, and life science healthcare. So you'll be joining a graduate intake team that is growing year on year and is proving to be a key part of the success of DHL going forward and providing career opportunities across the board.
Thanks for sharing with us, Mark. What I'll do is I'll throw to Claudia next to share about Linfox, and we're coming up to 3 minutes. If you can keep it brief as to what makes Linfox different, why should students apply?
I think the main thing that differentiates Linfox in the market is that we are Australian owned. And because of that, there's really great networking opportunities. Like, you're not just treated like another number. There's been so many opportunities where I've met, the CEO, the president, the board of directors. And so there's really great networking and really great career growth.
Thanks for sharing. Sharon, I might ask you to go next and share about Toll.
I think for Toll, we're all in the same industry. We're all pretty much doing the same thing. But, we're, again, a global organisation. We do have helicopters, if you're interested in helicopters. But I think really in looking for what is best for you, look at the organisational values and what best aligns with your own personal values, because we're all so similar.
Well said.
Yeah.
Josh, last but not least, share about Mainfreight.
Yeah, I'd just say we're better than everyone else, and we're a combination of all three. I would say the culture within Mainfreight's very special. We're a Kiwi company. We're very different, I guess, in that respect. But we're also a global business as well. And if you've got the right fit, the right attitude, and you've got a thirst to learn, you can certainly, like as Mark said, and as everyone else has said, as much as you put in, you get out. So if you wanted to move overseas, there's definitely that possibility. You just have to be the right fit for our business and align with our culture.
Thank you very much, guys. And it was great being on the panel with you all as well. Thank you very much for your input and your insights.